I cannot express in words, and I'm good with words, how excited I am about what is about to happen today. You lucky SOBs that decided to click on the link, that decided to find your way over to this particular show, you are welcome. So, you're saying to yourself, okay, we know Donovan James. We've seen him around. We've been checking the FOS, friend of the show rankings. We know he's the number 2 ranked friend of the show. And once again, don't get lazy, Mr. Keatley, because he's breathing down your neck. He's right there on you. And then, of course, wait a second. Well, you may have seen Zack before. You may have seen Zack before. You thought, is that the guy that dropped all that super dope knowledge about what's going on in FCS football and broke down like no other white man in America, HBCU football? Yes, that is my friend who was invited to the cookout. And in fact, if he brings potato salad, we will eat it. That's how much we trust Zack's word when it comes to FCS football. This is the show you lucky individuals will found. And it's about to go down. I'm going to open with Zack because in just a few minutes, he's going to be breaking down a game that'll be kicking off in just, well, now less than 2 hours. Let's start at the beginning. The FCS playoffs are very much upon us. Tell us about, well, who's going to win and why, and how did they get here?
You know, it's going to be really tough to beat South Dakota State, man. I mean, that team, it's always hard to say there's a perfect team in college football. I know that's kind of blasphemy for football guys to say, but I'll be honest with you, man. When you're looking for what their weakness is, I don't know if I could tell you. And I think Villanova last week had some chances. They dropped a big touchdown pass. And then right after they dropped that, they had the block punt return for a touchdown. And you can't make those mistakes on the road against a team that is as disciplined and as good as what South Dakota State is. I think UAlbany is going to be a very interesting matchup, man. You look at that. That's a team that won 3 games last year, guys. They were voted 11th in the CAA coming into the year. They're sitting in the playoffs right now. They have, I think, one of the best sophomore quarterbacks in the country in Reese Poffenbarger, an elite wide receiving core that can make plays downfield, led by Brevin Easton. And then I think regardless of level, they might have the best edge rush duo in college football, FBS or FCS. When you got 2 guys over 20 tackles for loss, 2 guys approaching 15 sacks, I want to say Anton's over that.
Yep.
It's going to be a huge challenge. And I think you're going to see some NFL matchups tonight in terms of the line of scrimmage. I want to say kickoff, like you said, is about an hour and a half away. But then it's just a question mark of a mere Hall can shut down the side of a field, but Idaho really created a lot of explosive plays on the other side. Can the number 2 corners, can the safeties slow down? Arguably, Zack Hines is one of the best tight ends in the country. And then you got the other half of the Yankee twins, whoever you want to take away, Jaden or Jackson, the other one can go make plays. And when you look at the other game that's coming up tomorrow, man, I mean, Montana, North Dakota State in any other given year would probably be a national championship matchup, especially with how those teams are playing right now. North Dakota's hitting their stride. They had those early losses, man, but you're looking, they ended the season, win over Northern Iowa, dominant. Southern Illinois, a dominant win. They escaped that Montana game and then absolutely boat race South Dakota. They're really rolling. I don't think the coaching news is going to affect them. If you remember, their past 2 coaches announced that they were leaving right ahead of the semifinals. They went on to win national championships in both those years. So it's almost like a good omen that their coach is leaving right now. And then Montana is a team that people were screaming about not ranking at the end of September after that Northern Arizona loss. They go ahead, put in Clifton McDowell, a transfer from Central Arkansas. He's 9-0 as a starter. That team's rolling, and that wide receiving core is so fun to watch. You saw what Junior Berge could do in space on special teams and at the wide receiver spot, and they got that super aggressive 3-3-5 defense. I think there couldn't be 2 better matchups in the playoffs this weekend. And then, of course, you got the amazing Celebration Bowl. I think y'all can tell by my hoodie who I'm rolling with in that one, but the storylines are endless with Willie Simmons and FAMU. They've been on the cusp for so long, man. Like, he's been 1 game away. He finally has a chance to bring that national championship back to FAMU. They have not, I mean, they technically have won an HBCU national championship. They've claimed one, but this would be the first outright one in a long time. And then Howard counted out all year long. They got so much crap for being the paper champs or the co-champs last year. Well, they got it done this year with a big upset over Central, and it would just be another feather in the MEAC's cap if Howard can find a way to knock off FAMU on Saturday.
How crazy would that be? A 6-5 team that I wasn't expecting to even contend in their conference. I'll be honest. I thought they'd be third-ish. I saw some of their games early in the year. I was like, I feel pretty good about my prediction. Nope. They found a different gear late in the season and then you look at FAM. Their one loss is a game they were completely in till almost the very, very end against South Florida. So, they are a team to be reckoned with, I guess is the term I would use. I want to ask you, since you're rocking the Florida Agricultural Mechanical University sweatshirt, if they weren't, and we had you and I bonded over the whole, not participating in the FCS playoffs thing, and understand why it's not happening, but it's in my craw. If they had opted to play in the FCS playoffs, how do you think FAM would do? And then I'll jump over to Donovan.
Oh, that's such a tough question. I'll be honest, it's so hard to say. And I understand people love the hypotheticals, but with the playoffs, it's so up to seeding. And also, maybe they get a top 8 seed, but in the second round, you have Montana State or North Dakota State coming to you, or are you getting a Furman matchup? It all depends on where you go. And if they don't get that bye week, man, do you get the unfortunate thing to be put where you got to go to South Dakota State in round 2 or a Montana State? So it would all depend on the seeding. I've said that I think they're probably a quarterfinals team at best, but I think you kind of see that's where the distinction comes in. I mean, you look at even like a North Carolina Central who got in this year. A lot of people thought it was them and FAM and nobody else in terms of the top HBCU teams. Central gets off to a hot start. Davius Richard gets banged up. Richmond goes out there, destroys them in the second half. And then a week later, Richmond gets their doors blown off by UAlbany, who ended up, being a semifinal team. So I don't think FAM's on the UAlbany, South Dakota State, North Dakota State level, but I think they could have been a solid quarterfinal team depending on what side of the bracket they ended up on and what matchups they got early.
Yeah. Agreed. It'd have been fun to see FAM Furman, right? Not partially because it's fun to say FAM versus Furman, Furman versus FAM. But I'll throw it open to my co-host, the babyface has asked himself, Brock Vieira, see what questions he may happen to have, and then we will dig into the football that more people are familiar with when we bring in Donovan. What questions might you have, Mr. Brock Vieira?
Yeah, so this game is riddled with talent, especially talent that I feel will be productive at the next level. Some of the names that I like, and shout out to our good friend here at Team MBS Media, Greg Rector, for putting me on these guys. Kenny Gallup Jr., safety for Howard. Ani Dawa, offensive lineman for Howard. I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names. Javon Morgan, DB for the A&M, and Gentle Hunt, defensive lineman for the A&M. Not too sure who will be playing who or not. I've been trying to find the injury report, but I can't get my hands on anything. Out of those 4 names I said, who do you think is going to have a big impact in this game? And out of those guys, who do you think are going to be successful at the NFL level?
Oh, man. That's, I think looking at it, I'll tell you this. I think Kenny Gallup is probably going to be the most impactful. That's a guy who's second team All-American for us, was the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's just so versatile in terms of the fact that he's okay coming up in the box and making tackles and just kind of being that hybrid safety, but he can also play the deep safety too. And you trust him in coverage. He's really, really good at coverage and super athletic, super smart and experienced guy. I love Kenny Gallup's game. So I think this weekend he'll be a key player. I think the better prospect though is Dankwa at offensive tackle just because of his measurables. Yep. But I will say this, I don't think Dankwa had a great year this year. If I was ranking the Howard offensive lineman based on just this year's performance, not measurables, not history, none of that, he would probably be third. They had some elite play from Weatherspoon on the other side. The guard Fox as well was balling. So I don't think Dankwa had a strong year because I know we got banged up in that Harvard game, but if you remember, Thor Griffith and those guys were giving them the business up front, and they couldn't block. that Harvard defensive line. And that was kind of a NFL versus NFL matchup because Harvard consistently turns out elite defensive linemen. So that worries me. When you look at this matchup with FAMU, you've got Anthony Dunn Jr., you have Gentle Hunt in the middle. There's a lot of guys who are elite, maybe not prospects, but elite players at the FCS level. So this is going to be a big test for Dankwah, but I definitely think he's probably the best overall prospect. Man, like, you can teach technique, but you can't teach 6'8", 360. That's a different thing. You can't teach that size, and he has experience. He can play multiple positions on the offensive line. And I'm not going to hold this one bad season against him because he did okay in pass blocking at times, but his run blocking really took a step back. But I will never forget last year against Alabama State. I was at the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Shout out to my guy Gerald, man, now coach up at Lincoln. We were sitting side by side in the press box. And there were defensive backs and linebackers that were having nightmares of Dankwah getting to the second level and absolutely destroying them. So I've seen it, and I know he can do it. I just wonder if that injury lingered a little bit longer than maybe Howard let on, because we know how injury reports are at the FCS level. They're non-existent. So I don't know if he's playing at 100%, but I'm gonna go with my gut here and say, man, when you're 6'8", 360 and you have some film to back it up, it's really hard to surpass him coming out of the FCS as one of the top prospects.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's great analysis. I want to switch it over to the quarterbacks playing in this game. We got two guys at Florida A&M's Jeremy Musa. Shout out to him because he started his career at the University of Hawaii in 2018. And then Quentin Williams for Howard. Musa threw for 2,604 yards this year, 19 TDs, 8 interceptions, had 2 rushing touchdowns. Williams threw for 2,158 yards, 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, had 5 rushing touchdowns. Who will have the better performance in the Celebration Bowl?
Oh, gosh, man. That's a tough question because I'll say this. I think Musa might have the more difficult challenge. I mean, you're looking at a Howard secondary that ranks first in the country. Howard's only allowed one team to throw for over 200 yards this year, and they're allowing like 120 per game, which is an ignorant stat. In 12 games or 11 games to allow 120 yards passing per game is a problem. And they got some guys that can force turnovers. We've already talked about Gallup. So I think Musa has the harder challenge, but with both these quarterbacks, the reason I'm having a hard time picking is we've both seen highs and lows. Yeah. You can get a Jeremy Musa that throws for 300, has an elite game, or you can have a guy who FAMU's going to have to overcome a poor performance and he's inefficient and that offense isn't able to establish drives because he has the playmakers. The thing for Musa is just get the ball to those guys. They have elite wide receivers that can make plays in space, led by Marcus Riley, Jamare Shareed. Yeah. Just get the ball to your guys. Casey Hawthorne's an elite weapon for Howard, but they're not as deep at the wide receiving core as FAMU is. Right. I'm going to lean Musa here just because of his weapons on the outside, but I really do think this game, man, comes down to the running backs. I know quarterback's kind of the quote unquote sexy position everyone wants to analyze, and of course they get the ball in their hand every possession, but Howard struggles to stop the run. FAMU's got a deep running back core, 3 deep. They're going to try to run the football. And then Howard knows Will can't put the ball down the field unless they run it. They have the advantage on the offensive line. And then when Eden James is maybe your second best running back, that shows you how deep they are with Jared Hunter and all those guys. But it's going to come down to me who runs the ball more efficiently this weekend, more so than possibly quarterback play. As long as the quarterbacks don't turn it over, I think the run game is going to play a way bigger role in this matchup on Saturday in the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah. For those who don't already know, Edgerrin James' son is who Eden James is, and he's not quite his dad because who the heck is, but he's a talent.
Yeah. Absolutely. Moving on, I want to talk about your predictions for this game. I want to first start with Howard. Howard is a team that's 6-5 right now, but they caught fire late in the season. Winners of 4 of the last 5, including a 50-20 drudging of number 7 North Carolina Central. Florida A&M's 11-1 right now. They're kind of the storybook team. Willie Simmons is so close to finally capturing that elusive title. What does Howard need to do in order to squash those storylines and win the Celebration Bowl?
I think when you look at both sides, I think for Howard, it comes down, like I said, running the football, and Q Will has to be efficient. I don't need Q Will to go out and give me 300-400 yards. Give me 2 with a touchdown or 2, no turnovers. Just be efficient. Just let the running backs do the work. You have an offensive line that's blocked well. The offensive line can't allow pressure though, because Anthony Dunn can get off the edge and really create problems. And just get the ball in your playmaker's hands. Casey Hawthorne, they've been very creative getting him the football. And then also special teams is big. If you guys remember way back early in the season, Howard possibly could have won probably 1 or 2 of those out of conference games, especially that FBS game. I want to say it was Eastern Michigan, where they allowed what was it, 17 or 16 special teams points in that game, and they only lost by 7. So special teams with Marcus Riley, who we saw return the opening season kickoff against Jackson and really set the tone in that Orange Blossom Classic, got to win the special teams battles. And I think when you look at FAM, it's get pressure on Musa. And then it's then it's that secondary. Early in the season, I want to say throughout the first 4 or 5 games, they did not force a turnover in terms of interceptions. They finished 3rd in the conference. They've caught us an interception for like 7 straight games now. And I just think Willie Simmons has to trust himself. You have an experienced quarterback, 3 deep at running back. You have the deepest wide receiving core, arguably in HBCU football. Just trust your guys. Don't try to do too much. Don't let the moment be too big for them. Just go trust them and do what you've been doing. I mean, I know people have kind of looked at FAM. I think it's been kind of overlooked, to be honest with you. They've won 10 of their 11 games by 10 or more points and have 6 wins over conference opponents by 14 or more points. They've been dominant. They have the number 2 national defense in total defense and scoring defense. Just go in there and ball out. On paper, they should win, but we saw a team 2 years ago, 1-loss team named Jackson State, all the talent in the world, a 6-5 South Carolina State team with Buddy Pugh comes in there, and they get smacked in the mouth, and it wasn't even close. It was 31-10 in that game. So I wouldn't sleep on Howard. I think it's a 7-point spread. I have FAM winning. I do think they have more talent. I think the receivers are going to be the difference. And I just trust that defense. All year, they've made the plays to win the game. I think they're going to make a handful of plays late. I do think this is going to be a super competitive game, though. I have FAMU winning 27-23 tomorrow.
Excellent evaluation for everyone watching and just curious about the FAMU program. FAMU, of course, is 11-1 right now. FAMU only loss on the season was a road defeat to South Florida, of course, of the FBS level, who's going bowling this year. Their first year head coach, Alex Golish. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. Keep in mind that after beating Florida A&M 38-24, they then only lost to Alabama 17-3, just to show how good of a team Florida A&M is this year. Last question before I throw it back to my co-host, so I know it's chomping at the bit to talk HBCU football. I'm going to Florida A&M in this game. The only reason why is because Howard beat UNLV several years ago in the greatest upset ever at the FBS level, which is my alma mater. Also, I was talking to this chick who ended up going to Howard and then once I saw a video of her with the Q Dogs, it was a wrap on that. And maybe I'm still a little bit bitter about that. But why are you rocking the Rattlers colors today on the show, Zach?
Man, I don't have as a creative story as that one.
No. Well, somewhere, Future is endorsing your decision. But let's G belongs to the streets. But let's go back to Zach.
Yeah, I like the Rattlers in this one. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the what is it? The transitive property in college football. Like, I'll be honest, I really don't think FAMU competing with South Florida meant anything, because I don't think FAMU goes and competes with Bama the week after either. Like, I just don't think that 1-to-1 comparison is there, just because, I mean, you can go through this. And I mean, I could probably tell you Akron could probably go and beat Georgia right now, depending on who played who and just upsets throughout the year. I think it's more, you look at how these teams are playing. Howard really struggled early in the season. They started rolling through the MEAG, but they really excelled in winning close games, while FAM's just been more dominant. I think when you go position by position, you would give FAM the advantage in a majority of the positions, and it's about matchups. And as great as Gallup is, as talented as that Howard secondary has been, I don't think they faced a passing attack as athletic and as explosive as FAMU. And I'll be honest, I said this in the preseason. I talked to Willie Simmons at SWAC Media Day, and I came back on my show in, what was that? I guess July, and said he's talking different. You can feel the vibe around him different than when I talked to him in previous years. Coming into the year, Willie Simmons wanted to make a statement. He was tired of always, being the bridesmaid, finishing second. Everyone talking about, can he win at FAMU? Can he ever win the big game? And you had the saying, Willie's going to Willie out there. Well, he came to prove a point this year, and I think you've seen that from his team. They're rolling right now. They just dismantled Prairie View again in the SWAC championship game. I think that team is just too hot and too talented for Howard right now, and I think FAMU has enough weapons to get it done on Saturday.
Yeah, I did a promo video about this Celebration Bowl, and we basically agreed in every single way, which makes me feel smart. Once again, I like that. The fact for me, here's what it comes down to for me, is beyond just the talent disparity, and there's a bit of a talent disparity at most positions you just mentioned. You made a really good point about Jeremy Musa. I was much higher on Musa last year. I'm not sure what exactly happened. It seems like he is less trusting of what he's seeing, which is weird because he's played more football now than before. Like you would think by now. I mean, he's been around, as Brock pointed out, for a minute playing college football. I'm just shocked by him being less decisive as opposed to more decisive. Thank you also for pointing out the special teams. I think that's going to be hugely important. Both Riley and the little kid who's super fast.
Shareed.
Yeah, Shareed. Those two dudes are both danger in the return game. I wouldn't feel good about kicking to either one of those guys, and I think that's another decided advantage for FAM. I think they are the faster team. I think that they are more able to get consistent pressure on the passer. And as you mentioned, the running game. I wonder how, and Howard has a good defense, but I don't know if they're going to hang with that running attack, especially as the game goes along. You know what? Don't go anywhere, Zach. But I think Donovan has been warming up. He's, had his arm wrapped in a blanket, got the icy hot on it. He's been filling himself with information. So I think it's Brock. I'm going to let you fire some questions at the one, the only Donovan James, our currently number 2 ranked friend of the show, and then we'll go forward from there. So yeah, you may fire when ready, youngster.
Absolutely. So for everyone watching here, Donovan and I did another interview in our multi-level or multi-part interview series where he asked me questions, I asked him questions, we posted on all our websites. So I did one with him for Team NBS Media covering USC, if you guys want to check that out. So let's talk about the new Big Ten, or as Ryan, well, Jesus, of course I'm going to forget his name as soon as we're live. Our friendly friend of Michigan has what's
Ryan Dunn of One and Done Media.
Yeah. Ryan Dunn of One and Done Media has retitled the big conference. Right, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are headed off to, of course, the big. How do you think those 4 teams will assimilate into those conferences, and will we see some of the foundational elements of how they will establish himself in this bowl season?
Thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it, by the way. And by the way, man, Zack, right? Zack McKinnell, dude, he's great, man.
Yeah,
I like this guy a lot. I just want to say that.
That he is.
I don't know if he's still on the show, but
yeah, he should. Hopefully, okay. I'll reach back out to him. I have a few more questions for him, so I'll see if I can get.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him about my alma mater. Merch.
Don't worry, he's a big boy like me. He's just grabbing lunch. We're all good.
Oh, no, he's great. He's good. No, he's good, man. No, I mean,
yeah, he's great.
We
got to get our sugar levels up.
Bill said he was good before the show. He wasn't lying. He's good, man. I like listening to him talk, for sure. But anyway, thank you for having me on. You said how would those 4 teams, translate to the Big Ten or whatever you called it, the big.
I'm going to start calling it the Big Time Conference. I may have to have that trademarked, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take a little while for them to be, at their best, obviously. I mean, I don't know if they'll come in, all 4 of them, and just, dominate. But, I mean, I think they'll do a pretty good job. I think SC, UCLA coming in are kind of – they have to be good right away. I guess, because especially UCLA with the staff changes and just with the Chip Kelly being on the hot seat kind of already and everything, him coming in and everything. But Oregon, I think, will be fine. They'll probably have the best transition coming in. Just what they have coming back and what they're going to be able to do with Dylan Gabriel and quarterback and replacing Bone Eggs probably won't miss a beat. And just they're loaded. They have the best recruiting class in the conference. They have the most talent on current roster in the conference to me. So I would go with them to be right behind Ohio State and Michigan as one of the top 3-4 teams in the conference. And Washington would be obviously right behind as well. I think they lose a little bit, obviously, but with Kalen DeBoer as their coach and what they have coming in, their recruiting class is really good too. And the portal, they be able to hit that this offseason, which is still under progress right now. And signing day is coming up soon. So we'll see how these rosters balance out with the signing day, first signing day, because the second one's in February, obviously. The traditional signing day that most people are used to is in February still, but the first one's coming up soon, and then the portal just opened completely last week. So I think all 4 of them will be in the mix, though. I mean, I think that out of is there going to be 14 teams, if I'm not mistaken, total? Yeah, 14 teams. I think those 4 coming in will be top 6, top 7. So the top half of the conference. So there'll be a balance, a shift. And what am I trying to say? There's no conference like within the conference, basically. No divisions. The word I was trying to use. Yeah. No divisions. So it'll be all just 14 going in. So that'll kind of help out too. But I think those 4 teams will be in the top 7, top 6 of the conference next year.
Definitely. I'm so sick and tired of seeing Iowa and Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game. I mean, when we saw the graphic that said that with the Big Ten, I think the South or the whatever conference Iowa is in is 0-10 all time in the Big Ten title game. I think that's pretty telling of how awful having the divisions were. Moving on, we spoke on our interview, but now that we have you live, what are your thoughts on USC poaching defense corner Anton Lynn from UCLA?
When that hire first happened, I was a little surprised. I'm not gonna lie. That's not who we had. No one mentioned him. None of our guys. Neither of the Matts on our site. Zemek being the staff leader there, and Matt Walding or myself or any of the guys really that were writing about who was going to be the DC. So it kind of came as a surprise, but I do like the hire. I know I told you that, and I've been on, this is like the second podcast I've been on this week. This is my favorite one though, by the way, that I came on to and talked to, and I got to do another one tomorrow actually, but still my favorite one. No, I'm thrilled to have him, and so far so good. He's done a really good job so far, and we got Cohen today. He flipped from Kentucky earlier this week, went on an OV, had an in-home visit with his parents, with D'Anton Lynn and Lincoln Riley and Sean Nua, and he flips. It's pretty fast. Happened in a week. And a lot of that was because Lynn. He really enjoyed his visit with him. I think Lynn's is an up-and-coming guy. He's been around, obviously, for his whole life, pretty much, around football and everything. So he's been around the game. He's played the game at the highest level in college and football and CFL and everything. So all Big Ten, I believe 2 or 3 times at Penn State. So, we know a lot about this guy, his father and his background. So he's done a good job, man, so far. Young coach coming in, but I think energetic coach, good. With recruiting in that region, both regions, the Midwest and LA. I think he'll come in, like Bill's always kind of said, come into LA, kind of get some of those kids back from the inner city or just from different high schools. Then you can't get everyone from Otter Day and Bosco, like or like Corona Del. I mean, obviously those are 2 of the top 5 high schools in the country every year, and they have a lot of talent. I'm not saying anything bad about them. Obviously, as a high school guy, that's actually where you want to get some talent from for sure, but not all of it. And or Corona Del Mar, like whatever, like Newport Beach, though, that's a up and coming high school. But you got to get some other guys too. So. Back in the city, like the Dorseys, like you said, or whatever, Crenshaw. So I think he'll do a good job there. And his relationship with Dante is big too. We spent a lot out of Dante, such a good recruiter. Still has to fix some secondary issues, but I think it's a good hire. I mean, as far as do I think it's like a home run hire? I don't know about that. It's a good one. It's solid. It's damn near close to it. because I do like this guy a lot. It kind of took a little bit of people by surprise, I think, because they thought we were going to get kind of like a little bit of a more veteran, older guy, not a little bit of a younger guy. But I think this is the right hire. I think this is a good fit. I like him. He seems like he's doing a good job there so far. I mean, they've already flipped 2 guys, and seems like they got a lot more coming for sure. And he's on. I mean, he's kicking ass at recruiting, man. That's all I can say. He's getting after it. He's no waiting at all. Like he came in day one and was like ready, And so I think, like I said, going back, a lot of these kids he's trying to get were already, on his spreadsheet at UCLA. You know what I mean? So he's familiar with the game, and we're going to the Big Ten. He was already doing that with UCLA, so he's kind of, and he knows that also. This Lincoln Riley is letting him control that defense. Lincoln Riley is all about his offense, obviously, so he has full control over his defense and the recruiting. Him and Dante and Sean Newell will do it. I think that's a good 3-headed monster, man, as far as recruiting. Now, how they play on the field is a different story. We'll see what they can do, but UCLA did improve their defense last year, so hopefully USC can do the same with Lynn.
Yeah. Quick disclaimer for everyone watching, if you guys aren't familiar. Of course, when Donovan is referring to Dante, he's referring to assistant head coach Dante Williams of the USC Trojans, a member a member of the previous staff who was retained by Lincoln Riley, just to show how good of a coach that he is.
Yep.
And I'm surprised he hasn't had a head coaching job yet at the Group of 5 level. But we're not going to get into my irritation with that today. Obviously, Deonton Lynn is the son of former Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn. The Chargers just announced that they fired Brandon Staley and basically they're cleaning house with his staff. Are there any coaches from the Chargers that you think that USC would be interested in plucking for their program?
Wow. Oh man, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I did see he got. I knew he was gonna get. I didn't even watch that game, and it was crazy, man. I was at work and I came back and I was like, is this like a typo? It's like 56-0, or like whatever it was. I didn't know. No, I don't want the Chargers to be that bad. I mean, I'm from San Diego. I know they moved, but I still, root for them. It's not my favorite team, but it's close to my heart. Big Herbert guy too. I know he wasn't there. Easton Stick did play good, even though they lost by like 100 points. But it looks like he did a good job. But as far as the staff from the Chargers, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously Kellen Moore's still on their staff, but they don't really need them because they have probably too many coaches on offense right now. But we're fine on that side. Cliff's still there. Looks like he's gonna stay. I mean, why not stay for that much money? Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's like I know the staff by heart. I know what's his name, the secondary coach. We could probably I would actually like to have him. I can't think of his name. Donatel?
Ed Donatel.
The former defensive coordinator of the Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to have him. I mean, that'd be somebody nice. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. And probably nobody else. I mean, Nussmeier's on their staff too. But like I said, we don't need him. Or Pat White is on their staff too. I mean, Pat White, that'd probably be cool if we could get him some role like recruiting and some offensive assistant job. That's what his job is now, offensive assistant. So, I mean, but that's Cliff's job. So I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to. But I would love to have like some guys like that. Obviously, Nussmeier is a veteran and a good coach. Been good coach for years.
No, he's not.
I mean, it'd be nice to have a guy like that on staff at USC just because he's coaching the NFL for so long. That sells with recruits. Like they just like to hear that. Yeah. Oh, well, this guy's coach a bunch of guys. Pat White obviously is a legend. Yeah. So be nice to have him on staff. I mean, we'll put up his YouTube video for the kids. They still remember him.
Oh, yeah. NCAA football 08 GOAT.
Yeah, like those kids. But realistically, though, Donatel would be a guy that I would probably think, like, realistically, maybe could coach on the team. But other than that, no, I'm not. I think their staff's fine right now, for the most part.
That's fair. I want to quickly transition to Westwood and UCLA, who, by the way, is playing in the Los Angeles Bowl, which is closer to UCLA's campus than their home stadium, the Rose Bowl. So, great job, Bruins. You guys really know how to kill it. But going to their football program, obviously with Lynn going over to USC, they have a hole at the defensive coordinator position. Do you have any insight into who they might hire? And do you have a guy that you would like to see them hire?
That's a good question. Guy I would like to see them hire until well, they should just get Alex Grinch. No, I've been saying that as a joke for a while. I mean, I still think Alex has a He's young, man. He'll get another chance to shine. He's
Oh yeah,
like
he's one of
40
those
years
guys
old.
that fails
Yeah.
up, kind of like Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I think he'll take a year off though. Maybe as like a DC, it might be like just a linebacker coach or something like that. And he still can recruit, man. Like he's always done a good job at that. And he's like everybody likes him as a person. Like he's not like a bad guy or anything. He just can't, coach. I think the obvious answer to me is just promote Ken Norton Jr. as
There we go.
DC. I mean, I don't really know why Chip is over. I think he's kind of overthinking this. I mean, it's Ken Norton Jr. I know Bill loves Ken Norton Jr. probably more than most people, but he's still a good coach. He's had some chances there and there, and he was at SC. He's obviously been around the block. He's recruited so much. He's done a good job. Seahawks. Yeah, I mean, but I think, yeah, I mean, he's already the defense or the linebackers coach, and I mean, I say why not just promote him? He's got the experience. He's got the background to do it. But I've heard Tony Gibson out there too for NC State. I don't know too much about him, honestly, but I know he's a pretty good coach. And I know Kurt Maddox is a guy that you guys have probably all mentioned before, SDSU, that was out there. But I would just say Ken Norton Jr. would be like the easiest answer for me. And obviously Zach Arnett as somebody I've heard too out there. And that's another guy that can come in. And you're not going to have him for long, obviously, but he can recruit. He does a good job on defense. And, I mean, defense wasn't their problem really at Mississippi State. Was scoring the ball. So, yeah, I mean, those are a couple of names. But really, Ken Norton Jr., if you want to just ask me who I would hire if I was the AD, would be just kind of go ahead and promote him from within. And, they're all about saving money at UCLA right now. So, kind of just I mean, that's been like their problem is that they're always talking about saving money. So they save a lot of money just hiring Ken Norton Jr. He's still getting paid from a former contract, and then he's on the staff already. So just promote him, give him a little raise, obviously.
Well, that's because Chip Kelly's annual food budget is bankrupting UCLA. What he dines daily is like Zach's and my like dream. As big boys, you know what I mean. Like I think they said like he spent like $3 million on food throughout the year. Like there was a report that came out from the LA Times. It was something ridiculous. What? I know.
No, you eat good for under Chip. I mean, I talked to a player who played under him at Oregon, and yeah, you eat good. You got a smoothie bar, a top scale, man, and no BS food. I ain't talking Kroger brand, Walmart brand. You're talking about great, no great value stuff, man.
Yeah, like none of this stuff would be eligible for EBT. That's kind of stuff
yeah, you're eating good under Chip. That's why some kids like. I mean, they love that though. I mean, he treats them well now. You eat good. You eat good. You look good. You eat good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not really, but I mean, I eat good. I definitely don't look good. I saw myself.
Well,
it's not happening, gentlemen.
You've seen Ethan Garbage, right? His quarterback. He looks good. Dante Moore. Dante, I mean, come on, man.
As much fun as this has been, Zach has a hard out in like 15, 20 minutes.
All right. Perfect. Well,
so I need to transition back to Zack for just a minute so you can finish up.
Excellent. Excellent, because I got some great questions for our guy in green. Zack, Montana, big win for them at home in Missoula. Football in Missoula is fantastic, and I wish more of the country got to see it. I'm a big Grizzlies guy. I can't even say the name because my high school, Damien Memorial in Hawaii, had a defensive tackle in Tonga Takai back in 2014 that played for them, and I have been in love with them ever since. Of course, talked about Clifton McDowell, dual threat, 17 for 31, 208 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, 21 carries, 118 yards, and a rushing score in their win against Furman at home. Will he be able to put up that type of level of performance against North Dakota State, or do you think North Dakota State is going to have Montana's number in the semifinals?
I mean, I trust him. I don't see any reason why. I mean, the kid's 9-0 as a starter. He's done it against Montana State. He's done it against Sac State. He did it against Idaho. He's just consistently. I mean, I don't think people realize like how dominant that game was against Montana State to end the season. Like, I mean, he made an NFL caliber throw. Yep. I want to say he was rolling to his left, and he had a post route over the middle that he just flipped his hips. I'm talking about launched it and hit. And I don't know if it was Junior Bergen or not, but it hit the kid right in the chest. It was an elite throw. And then you look at that touchdown pass to win the game last week. It between the safety and the corner, the slot corner. and just a dime to Fontes to win that game. McDowell's shown that he's just a gamer, man. I think he's an experienced kid who kind of got lost in the shuffle of Central Arkansas. I mean, he was committed to Southern this offseason, a massive loss for them now looking back in hindsight. But the kid's just been balling. And I do think it helps that he has a very experienced offensive line. The running back was the Jerry Rice Award winner for the best freshman in the country, and Eli Gilman. And to be fair, he's kind of carried Montana through the all season because Gilman hasn't really had a good game. They've really struggled to run the football, but North Dakota State's defense isn't like this suffocating, dominating defense. They've allowed a lot of yards, but they've been really good at preventing touchdowns in the red zone. And their red zone percentage numbers might not look good, but when you deep dive into the analytics, they're letting teams kick field goals, and that's how they're. If you can keep a team inside the 20 to field goal, that's a win as a defense, and that's what North Dakota State does. They've kind of limited explosive plays late this season, but that was like their big killer early. You have to control the wide receivers from Montana. That's the key. Clifton McDowell's great. Gilman's great. The offensive line's experienced. If you let the wide receivers break tackles, get behind your safeties, it's a long day against Montana. I think it's a very evenly matched game, and it's really going to come down to whether Clifton McDowell can protect the football. He only has three or four picks this year, but two or three of them came in the postseason. You've got Cole Wisniewski back at safety, 8 picks for North Dakota State, and North Dakota State leads the country in interceptions with 21. So that's really going to be the thing. Is I think McDowell has the playmaking ability to be special, but he has to protect the ball this weekend against North Dakota State.
Absolutely. So just kind of want to give everybody a full circle moment before I go on to my last question. Of course, in the Brawl of the Wild, as mentioned, Montana defeated in-state rival Montana State 37-7. It was the matchup with number 3 Montana, number 4 Montana State. They will be playing, of course, North Dakota State, as mentioned by Zack earlier. North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz will be leaving to USC to be an assistant coach there. So again, everything once again full circle. Last question before I throw it over to Bill. We're talking about something a little bit different about Chip Kelly's alma mater, New Hampshire. They lost their starting quarterback Max Brosmer, transfer portal guy. He's going to Minnesota. This year he threw for an FCS leading 3,449 yards, 29 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. What is Minnesota getting in him at the quarterback position? And I know he's going to be better than Kelly Amakis, so that's already an improvement.
Yeah, man. I want to let Bill know, man. I got a little bit more than 15 minutes, so we still got 45 till the game, so I'm good. But I'll say this. I think Brosmer has a lot of potential. He has the size, has the arm strength, the playmaking ability. The one thing that always concerns me is that New Hampshire team was loaded with talent. You had Lobby, you had Ruiz at edge rusher, you had a Silver at edge rusher. Now those guys got a little bit banged up, but they were really, really bad this year at times. And he struggled against elite defenses, and that's the only concern I have for him. But he's shown flashes of brilliance. So if he can come in under Fleck with that offensive coaching staff and take a step forward, I think he could be successful because he has all the measurables, he has all the things that you can't teach in a guy. I think he just has to clean up a little bit on his fundamentals, and he'll be a solid quarterback. I mean, it's not no shot at the Big Ten. It's not like the standard is super high for like most of the Big Ten in terms of quarterback play. So I think right now he's probably a top 8 quarterback in that conference.
Yep. And that transitions beautifully into my questions. So we've talked transfer portal, but it's been when it's been discussed previously, it's been FBS to FBS. The FCS to FBS and FBS to FCS portal is sort of a different animal. Talk about top 5, top 10, whatever ones that you think in terms of each direction. The top FBS to FCS guys you think are going to make a big impact, and vice versa. The top FCS to FBS guys.
For next season,
as of today, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just pulling up a list because man, it's so hard to keep up, man.
I know. We talked about this. It's crazy.
as we've been on the show. I think one that I really do like, and I know you're going to go crazy because me and you talked on the phone about this guy, John Pius to Wisconsin is going to be terrifying. That kid I mean, I think if he could take
the Haitian sensation,
if he takes a step forward in his physicality, that kid is a high day 2 pick coming out of Wisconsin compared to William and Mary. I mean, this is a guy for back-to-back years has competed for the CAA Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time All-American, and is an elite pass rusher and has the athleticism, I think, to give the bigger tackles in the Big Ten a lot of problems with his athleticism. I think looking across all these transfers, man, we've had so many FCS to FBS guys. I think Thor Griffith at Louisville too. That's a guy that is just a freak, and I mean that in like the biggest compliment way. The kid is like I don't know. Is like I feel like he is so strong in the interior. It can just eat up blocks, and I think you got to be special as a defensive tackle to consistently create negative plays. Thor Griffith is that guy, man. And I think he's going to make a huge impact for Louisville, who, let's not forget, had a really good defense this year. And so they bring in a guy with all this experience that has all the measurables and strength and everything you want to experience. And I just think like a nice shout out to this guy too, Jawarn Howell. South Carolina State running back, was a freshman All-American, transferred to South Carolina yesterday. Yeah. That's a kid with 3 years of eligibility left to develop in the SEC after having a breakout year for South Carolina State. He was the kid that ran for 200 yards against Howard in that upset win for South Carolina State. Right. For the Gamecocks to get him is huge. And to be honest, I mean, FBS to FCS, I want to say there's less than like 10 notable ones right now.
Who are your favorites?
I'm interested to see how this kid develops. Now, he didn't play a lot at Oklahoma, but a kid named Marcus Hicks, a former 4-star offensive lineman, transferring from Oklahoma to, you guessed it, South Dakota State. So, but what a better place to be developed as an offensive lineman, even probably better than Oklahoma. The rich keep getting richer with him. So I think Marcus Hicks would probably be a notable one. Now, also keep an eye on Jaden Woods, defensive back out of Akron. He's going over to ETSU with new head coach Trey Lamb. Love his athleticism. I need to watch a little bit more film on him to see exactly how he's going to fit into that new defensive scheme that they're bringing over to ETSU. But I think he has the raw tools to be probably an early contributor for them next year.
Love it. Hey, you know what? It's a democracy. Donovan, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask the amazing Zack McKinnell?
No, I think I was muted or something, but I was gonna actually ask if I could ask him a question.
You may, sir. That you may.
By the way, I followed you back, Zack, on X or Twitter, whatever. I followed you back on there. Shout out to Zack McKinnell for sure, because I gave you his high props, man. Bill told me you were a dog before the show, but I'm a big fan, man. I had to ask a question about my alma mater, Mercer, man. We took a bad loss, but I was proud of my boys. You know, that's the furthest we've ever made it in our short history of having a football program, because it, had a big, almost like 80-year gap not having football. Got our team back like 2014, but 2015, whatever. But what do you think about Mercer Bears, man? I know we're gonna probably lose Harper and Ty James, some All-Americans, and Carter Peavy into the portal. But what do you think about the program and just the season they had this year?
I have a soft spot for Mercer just because, listen, Ty James is my guy. Like, I talked to him. Yeah. I talked to him a lot. Like, I had him on my show this all season. Dev's my guy too. I also love Lance Wise, safety, All-American as well. I was so happy for Mercer, man, because they've kind of been that team that's been one game away for what, 2 or 3 years now. And it's just like they lose that one game that keeps them out. And I was a little nervous because of that late bye week if they were going to be able to find their way in. They did. They got that big win over Gardner-Webb. If I'm a Mercer fan, I'm fine with how the season ended. No one was going into Brookings and beating South Dakota State. They're just that good. I thought it was a big thing for Mercer to get in for the first time in school history and get a win in the first time, because that kind of sets the tone. You kind of see some of these teams who get in, 4, 5, 6 years, and they start losing, and it becomes a trend. Mercer got in, got a big defensive-minded win, and I love what Mercer did. Now, I'm a little worried moving forward, because when you lose a guy of the caliber of a Ty James, a Devron Harper, a Lance Wise, what I want to say Ken Stanley is going to probably be gone too. Solomon at edge is probably going to be gone. So there's going to be some big contributors leaving, but I trust the culture that they built down there. I think they're going to be able to replenish it. I'm interested to see where they go with how the defense looks. I know the defensive coordinator just took the head coaching job over at West Georgia. That's going to be another big question mark. But I'll be honest with you. I think Todd James was the most underrated player in the FCS. And this is no offense to anyone. And listen, I like Carter. There were some times I was so frustrated. I don't think it was necessarily Carter's fault, but the play calling was so like you have the best one-on-one wide receiver in college football. Spare me FCS. You got the best one-on-one wide receiver, maybe the best wide receiver in the country, and you don't throw the football. What are we doing? The play call should be get the ball to 13. That's it. Whatever, run whatever route you want, get the ball to 13. And they just failed to do that too often. I think it cost them some games because they didn't get the ball enough to Todd James. And I don't think Dev touched the ball enough this year. His touches went way down in certain aspects. So I think when you got two guys like that, Mercer's offense was a little bit confusing. I don't know if they necessarily trusted Carter as much as they did Fred Payton last year, but I thought Mercer was on an upward trajectory, man. I'm glad they got it done, especially for those seniors, man, who really stuck with Mercer this past season, and they finally got it done, man, their final year.
Yeah, and I agree with all that, man. I'm a big Ty, man. Just watching him grow. I mean, I graduated in 2019, so watching those guys come in and dominate, especially Ty and Harper and all those guys. I'm old, man. I'm sorry, but I was a 6-year senior too in 2019, so I was supposed to graduate 17.
But that he had that COVID year backdating. You know, he got his COVID year in first. Yeah. He got his COVID in first. Got his COVID year in
first.
If
I had to wait one more year, I'd probably still be in college. I would have just been graduating this year. I didn't play sports though, but I mean, it's still intramurals. But I want to ask you about UTC too. I worked for that staff, and I think they've done a good job over the past couple of years. Was Zack kind of built the foundation as a recruiting coordinator there and passing the baton last year? What do you think about UTC and what Rusty Wright and Lorenzo Ward and trying to do for the Mocs in the same conference as Mercer? I'm not a trader, by the way. I just, the Mocs hired me first.
I love the energy from Rusty Wright, man. Like, I don't think there's a guy like that dude's ready to fight for his players at any given moment. I thought Ben Bruton and Jay Person were elite defensive linemen this year, especially at the edge spot. I just think I like Cam Brown too at cornerland. That's the guy from my hometown. I mean, we played in like the same division in high school. He went over to Theodore. I played at Baker. So I love seeing hometown guys get their shine. 2-time All-American for him. And I'm so happy, especially with the health issues that he struggled with and the reason he kind of got overlooked in the recruiting process. They're kind of in a similar position that I feel Mercer's in, where all their top players are leaving this year. Like, what's going to be left? Because Ford's going to be gone. I'm not sure. Chase might be back at quarterback, but I'm not 100% sure there. I know the top wide receiver, Watley, entered the portal. Person's a senior, if I'm not mistaken. Bruton's a senior, if I'm not mistaken. I know Cam, I think, as well. So it's just, how are they going to replenish it? But I think Rusty Wright's built a culture there. And for me, I don't think you can ever count Chattanooga out. They're that scrappy team that you don't want to play because they're going to turn the game ugly and they're going to punch you in the mouth, man. They take that kind of mentality that Rusty has as a head coach, and I love to see it. I went to a game last year, and I think they have one of the coolest stadium atmospheres too, just of how that thing's set up. I love the little like tailgate whatever it is, like plaza outside the stadium and everything with like this cover. Like I think it's a really cool setup. And I'm biased because I love Chattanooga. That's one of my favorite cities to just go to. So I had a lot of fun up there.
I agree with that 100%. And yeah, I mean, you talked about Rusty Wright, man. Watching that dude in practice, and he want to make me jump from the damn. I'm way up. Recording on video. I'm like a assistant. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like an actual staff member like that. But I'm watching. I want to jump down, man, and just get on the field and play. Because him and Zoe, Lorenzo Ward, man. I mean, y'all know about Lorenzo Ward, man. That guy. I know.
Heck of a player himself.
Inspirational quote every day at 5:30 in the morning. You can go back and check if you don't believe me. Every day, Bible verse inspirational quote at 5:30 in the morning. He's literally the first guy in, even before Rusty. Like he got locked out one time. They wouldn't let him in. even though he's the defensive coordinator, because I don't know why he wakes up so early. Like, it's not that serious. I guess it is that serious for him, but he's just always he's always on the go, man. That staff is like the most intense staff. Obviously, I'm being a little bit biased, but I've ever been around just with those two guys, and not to mention the other guys that are on staff too. So I think like that feistiness kind of comes from those two guys, obviously. And like I said, Lorenzo Ward is a legend to me, just because when he coached Davion and all those guys in South Carolina, like and Gilmore, he's got it in his office, like he reminds who coached those guys. So, and like Bill said, I mean, I obviously didn't get to see him as a player, but always been intense apparently as a player and a coach. But I think that comes from those two guys, Rusty and Lorenzo.
Yeah, I'll never forget that Mercer. As I was at the Mercer game last year when they knocked off Mercer when Mercer was like 11 in the country, and we went to the press conference and he just came in and like he was almost in tears just for his players because he was like, "Man, they deserve it, and no one thought we could win it. They like you don't understand how hard these guys." I mean, he was just screaming, and I was like, "Man, the energy was just infectious." I was like, "Can we go suit up again? Can we play again?" Because I'm ready to play now. I mean, just like you could tell how much he cares for his players, and I love that in a head coach.
Oh yeah, Rusty is he's like that, man. And he walks around on campus too, like acting like that. Like this. And normally I'm not even talking about like just getting food. Like he's just you gotta come out to the game, support our guys, man. Like he's yelling at students, man. But he's really I saw him walking around just like he's just yelling at random kids, like, "You come to the game. The big one this week." I can't. I'm trying to do my best, Rusty Wright, but he's just intense. Like, he's always on go, man. He's always on go. But that's a good thing, though. I was like, "Why is he really like this?" Like, they're like, "Yes, bro. He's really like that."
I can't imagine. Can you imagine being stressed as a college student? You got a final, and then you get Rusty Wright run up on you like on campus and be like, "You better be at the game." It's like, "Coach, I already got so much on my plate. Don't scream at me."
Oh yeah, you gotta bring in the support dogs whenever he's on campus.
You just never know if a guy's really that. I mean, like you see it on TV and walking in the. He's gonna be yelling at me, making me do push-ups. I'm just giving him recruiting information, man. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, he's just he's wild, man.
Well, with that, let's transition to a different question. Let's talk about culture. And HBCU football culture is a unique thing in its own. I think we all, maybe not all of us, but we all see that picture on Twitter circulating of the female student section of Florida A&M at the game. So I want to pose this question to all you gentlemen, because I know what I would do. If you had to walk past them going up to get your seat in the upper stands, are you going head high looking at everybody? Or are you pulling the Brock Vieira head down, trying not to draw any attention to yourself? I'll kick it off with you, Zach, since you're wearing Florida A&M colors.
The funny thing is, I do know what picture you're talking about. I mean, honestly, like, because I guess it's just because I travel to so many games, so I'm like, I have to walk in places with a lot of people. Like, it probably wouldn't bother me. I honestly would probably just be, because since my girlfriend's watching the show, I probably just have to keep my eyes forward. If anything, so that's the answer I'm gonna give, just in case.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Yes. Zack McKinnell knows FCS football inside and out, and he knows how to keep his home happy. Well done,
yeah,
sir.
Exactly.
Well done.
Good job, Zach. Unfortunately, unlike you, I'm clumsy, and I'm not trying to eat it in front of everybody. So I gotta look where I'm stepping. What about you, Donovan?
Yeah, I mean, I go to a lot of games and events, man, and I'm cool with it. I got a girl too, man. She's right. She's in the room next door right now.
She about to come into the room and slap you if you don't give the right answer.
No, that's what I'm saying. She probably has no idea what I'm talking about, and she's not gonna watch this show or whatever. But it's okay. I'm still gonna answer. Still gonna answer the right way though. She might
there you go.
There you go.
My office is right next to the bedroom, so no, I'm keeping my head straightforward, like Zach said. But I mean, no, I keep my head up regardless. So even if I was, just because. I mean, sometimes you gotta look at the phone. I get it. Would you say, bro, you look down?
Oh, I look down. I gotta see where I'm walking, and two, I don't like attention. I get nervous. My hands get clammy easily, even when I'm not nervous. So
I'm a little. I get what you're saying. Walking down as far as the steps, man. I don't like. I got like my feet are like abnormally big for me to not be like that tall of a guy. Like I wear a size 13. I'm only like 5'10", 5'11". So I'm like goofy.
Did you just drop your foot size on the show?
Yep. And later his link to his OnlyFans.
I just meant
but
like
for the moment, let's
like
focus.
I'm not dissing myself though, because my feet are like they're not. I don't like having this big feet. Like honestly.
Oh yeah,
I can't find shoes.
I wear size 13s.
I can't find shoes though. Like it's hard. Like, my feet are too big.
My feet are so big. I can't find shoes. I'm Donovan James.
Oh man.
Follow me at Don James. See, you gentlemen got it lucky. All right. No matter where I'm at, I gotta be fundamentally sound with how I be walking. Especially because I like to eat too. So I gotta drink and maybe some food in my hands too. So I don't got the railing to support me.
Do they serve alcohol at the FAMU games? I almost said FAMU. My bad. Shout out to FAMU girls, but I meant
they definitely distribute it outside. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So this is a great time to segue back to football. I thank you, Brock.
These are transferable life skills, Mr. Montero.
Yes, Brock. Transferable life skills. Our life skills director at Team MBS Media, Brock Vieira. But I want to get into pro prospects. As was mentioned, I mean, I've been bothering everybody at the Senior Bowl. Apologies again about Anton Yunkaj, he's not going to test amazing. He's going to test reasonably well on some of the things, but he is so violent and efficient. He kills you very quickly and discards your corpse. And while he may not test super off the charts, you know what I'm talking about. I've seen him basically he'll just chop a guy and just throw him out of the way. And then, you get out of my way. But yeah, tell me about some of the guys that you like, that you've watched, that you think have a legitimate chance, maybe even be drafted, but if not drafted, be priority undrafted free agents and make a team.
I like Anton. The crazy part is I think Simon might be a better prospect.
Certainly
overall.
A better physical. Yeah, he's a better physical. He'll test better. Yeah.
A lot better. And I think he's just the problem is it's almost like a race to the quarterback. Could you imagine Simon's stats if Anton didn't take like 6 sacks from him this year?
Well, that's why Anton numbers shot up, was they got rid of Jared Verse, right? So last year Anton started putting up numbers.
that defensive line unit, if they would have kept Jared.
Who is the defensive line coach at Albany? I need to find this man.
You know what's crazy? And listen, Christian Taylor, no offense to this guy, he's a great offensive coordinator. The fact that Albany's D-line coach didn't win the FCS Assistant Coach of the Year is Rob.
What are we talking about? How is this possible?
And the crazy, they gave it to the William and Mary offensive coordinator. William and Mary averaged like 300 yards per game and 20 points per game. They weren't even a good offense.
No, they're good defense.
Yeah, but you gave it to the OC. What are we doing here?
Very confusing.
The AFCA was a joke for that, but I'm calling them out. I guess we can start that rivalry. But
yes,
I think it start. Listen, I was gonna say John Pius, but here he is at Wisconsin. I think I think Kieran at Yale, the offensive tackle, 6'5", 321. Guys, he has like 37-inch arms.
Woo!
As an offensive tackle. I mean, he's going to be a stud, but the one concern I have is he's coming off of a season-ending injury. He only played 4 games this year, so I'm interested to see, is he going to be ready for the All-Star games, or is he going to be someone that someone may just have to take a shot on? I think Isaiah Davis, South Dakota State running back. I mean, the kid is 6'1", 220. The kid's built like a linebacker, and he's and going into this year, I want to say he was averaging 8 yards per carry, not for the season, but for his career. And and he's over the 100-yard mark in like 12 of 14 or 15 postseason games. Mm-hmm. He's got the size, the speed, the vision, the production. Like, he has everything that you want. I want to see what Ty James, if he's going to get a look. I think the measurables are there. The production is there. It's just Mercer's never had a guy drafted. So I hate to say that does factor into it, because teams like to draft players from where they've gotten previous NFL players, and Mercer doesn't really have that pipeline. I think Sundiata Anderson for Grambling is interesting.
Yes.
I'll be honest. And listen, I know his agent, I know Sundiata, love you guys. When I watch his film, he's got the measurables. He kind of has the production, but the thing that's lacking for me in his game, and I think he's an elite run stopper. He does a great job not over pursuing. He does a great job of keeping the offensive line, his hands off of him, being gap sound, making the plays at the line of scrimmage. But I don't see that aggressiveness and elite playmaking ability from him.
Mhm.
And historically, that hasn't worked out well for FCS guys coming out of the NFL draft. You have to be a disruptor. And there's too many times in big games where Sundiata has disappeared. And when you think about the elite prospects coming from FCS, we all can think of like, what is it, like a career game or a game that he took over?
Right.
Can you think of one? Can you think of a game that you watched where you were like, man, Sundiata changed the game? Because I can do it for Anton. I can do it for John Pius. I can do it for Nate Lynn.
Yep.
I can do it for
That's
Thor
my guy
Griffith.
right there, Nate Lynn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thor
that's
Griffin. Good God, he's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, even though he won't come out this year. I think we already talked about Dankwa. Just thinking across like other guys that might be tight end's a big position. I think you got Zack, 6'6", 260, played with a broken foot in the FCS National Championship last year and played the entire game blocking. Yeah, on the line of scrimmage, blocking. I think the versatility of Dylan Lobby from New Hampshire is another one. He's 5'10", 5'11", 211. He can kick return, punt return, be a wide receiver, and be a running back. Yeah. I mean, man, the kid's legit.
He's basically FCS Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, that's exactly what he almost looks kind of bigger coming out of college than McCaffrey. Like he's just stockier.
He's 5 pounds heavier and like maybe a quarter inch shorter.
Yeah, so maybe he just carries his weight differently. And then the last guy, underrated guy, a guy that might not have bloated the stat box because of the offense he played in, Ryan Flournoy from SEMO at wide receiver is a guy that on film pops. And I got to see him play in person twice, and he just has that elite downfield playmaking ability that I love in wide receivers. Plus, he's physical at the line of scrimmage, blocking. And blocking is such an underrated aspect that a lot of people, they'll go watch film on wide receivers for the draft, but they'll watch catches, they'll watch route running. How do you block? Because you don't pass on every play. Can you get out there and block on the edge? Flournoy did that throughout his career at SEMO. He's 6'1", 6'2", probably 200, 205 pounds, has the size. I'll say this. His comparison for me is you're going to see him drafted late in the draft. If he tests well, which I think he will, the kid's athleticism is unbelievable. He's going to be your Colton McDowell, where McDowell got drafted from UT Martin out of nowhere. Everyone was like, where's this kid's production? Who is this kid? And he just has elite physical tools and played in a run first scheme. Ryan Flournoy is probably going to hear his name called 6th, 7th round. And when people turn on the tape, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah. My guess is Flournoy runs the over under for me is like 4.46. Worst case scenario, maybe 4.52, 4.53, but I think he's going to test well. 34.5 to 36 inch vert, I'm guessing, and good solid 3-cone and short shuttle.
I heard from a former coach of his that he's solidly into the 4.4. Like they think he can run low 4.4.
Oh, okay.
Which now I got to see it to believe it.
I was going to say, I usually take that when a coach says, yeah, this kid's definitely 4.4, and then 4.52. But I mean, that's fine also.
If he runs a 4.41 or 4.42, this conversation shifts to maybe he's a 5th round pick because with that size and that speed, he gets into the Andreas Lova's conversation of how is this kid so big and such a freak if he runs that fast. So I got to see it to believe it, but we'll see. I'm interested to see what he tests as.
Yeah, my guess is upper 4.4s, like 4.46 to 4.52 is sort of my
which is fine. That'll be I'll be plenty for him. The prospect that I'm interested though to see, man, is he doesn't have the measurables, but we've seen undersized running backs play so well at the NFL level. And I think this is a kid that isn't going to test well, but he has the experience and has the vision, has the production as Geno Hess.
Yes. If only he were bigger or faster or something, but he'll be in somebody's camp.
He checks all the boxes outside of top speed and outside of height. because he has to wait. To be honest, like
Yeah.
that's why he can be an every down back. His height's going to hold him back, but I think, like you said, he'll be in someone's camp, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the roster. I really wouldn't, or winds up on a practice squad. But if he doesn't, man, me and you talked about this earlier this week. If that kid winds up in the XFL, USFL merger thing, whatever they're going to call it now, that kid is a day one starter and is a automatic candidate for Rookie of the Year.
He reminds me of a couple inches shorter version of James Robinson. Is kind of who he reminds me of. Well, time to. Enough of the love fest between the two of us, I guess. I'm going to open it up to everyone else. Before Zack has to run, does anybody else have any last couple of questions for him? And then we'll knock out the last couple of questions with Donovan.
Yeah, I got one. Obviously, you have traveled up and down. It's not even football related. It's just more of a big boy question because I'm sad about it. Coming up and down the southern coast of the United States, there was a buffet place called Isola's that was made famous on TikTok. I always wanted to go there. Did you ever have an opportunity to go there? And if you did, are you sad that they are now closed?
I'll be honest. I've never even heard of that. I don't know. No, so yeah.
That's fair.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a buffet place that looked like phenomenal fried chicken. Moving on in kind of the same direction. When you talk about who's going to eat in the games, when you talk about the FCS playoffs, talk about celebration, both things like that, and we talk about NFL draft stock, are there any players that we have not mentioned that are going to literally feed their families by improving their draft stock with their performance over the weekend?
Oh, man. Maybe, I mean, listen, if tonight, but in 20 minutes, if Anton or AJ Simon gets off tonight against that South Dakota offensive line or South Dakota State offensive line, we're going to have a real conversation about those guys come draft time. I think a guy who is real quick, let me I want to say he might be a junior, so this might be like a 2025 draft class question. Okay, he's a junior. Amir Hall, though, has been elite this year, and I think this is a guy who y'all could see graduate, and he's going to be at an FBS Power 5 program next year. The kid's 6'1", 6'2", over 200 pounds, 5 picks this year. Last week against Hayden Hatton and Jermaine Jackson allowed like 4 catches for only like 40 yards. Like has not allowed a touchdown in like 8 or 9 straight games. His length is there. His speed is there. His physicality is there. So I think Amir Hall tonight would be a big one. I'm interested in the Yankee twins tonight as well. Those are two guys that I think have been so consistent. They have the size and everything. So I think those will be interesting prospects. In terms of the Montana, North Dakota State game, oh man, in terms of NFL stock, I mean, there's a few offensive linemen for North Dakota State, Jalen Sundal and Jake Kubas and some guys like that who might get some looks. In terms of Montana, I think you got some wide receivers. I mean, that whole wide receiving core, Junior Bergen and those guys are just so good. But maybe an Alex Gubner, but I just don't know if he has the size to really be a true NFL prospect. But he's a guy that he's a nose tackle too, which really and truly doesn't hold a lot of value in today's NFL. But yeah, we'll see how he plays too. It'll be a really good test against an experienced offensive line, and a guy to look for, not for this year's draft, but in the future, is a kid named Eli Green for North Dakota State a wide receiver. He's a true sophomore, kind of came on late this year. He's more of a slot guy, but he has just been on a roll recently in terms of really establishing himself as the number 1 wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing at an FBS program. I hate to say this as an FCS guy, that's just the kind of the shift that we're going in terms of FCS football. And then, me and Bill had a conversation earlier this week. I'm interested to see if Mark Gronowski gets it done again. Has a great game against UAlbany, a great game in the FCS National Championship against either Montana or North Dakota State. Does he get a look? Because he has the size, but he doesn't have the flashy stats. And I think he's going to get, listen, there's been a big debate on social media about the game manager label, but that's kind of the label he's gotten. And it's not a bad thing. Listen, he's super efficient. He can run. He can pass. He doesn't make mistakes. And that's what you want out of a quarterback. It's just historically those guys haven't been highly valued in the draft. I want to see if he gets a look for maybe a postseason all-star game, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be a very interesting evaluation because he checks a lot of the boxes. But historically, guys like him haven't got a look, and it's really hard to get drafted as a quarterback from the FCS level, especially high. You have to be an elite caliber guy. Steve McNair, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, like that level of talent coming out of the FCS, which is horrible to even put Steve McNair with them. It's really him, and then kind of the other guys who got lucky. Looking back now with hindsight, but those are the type of prospects that are going to get first round looks, and I just don't know if Gronowski's that, but could he slide into a 7th round slot potentially?
Gotcha. So I just want to say with those names, you forgot the GOAT Easton Stick, 5th round pick in 2019. I know. But kind of going off of that, obviously we saw what happened with Tyson Baggett this year with the Bears. I believe UDFA from Shepherd kind of came in, was a guy that I think a lot of us in the draft community loved. And we felt like there's a lot of potential. Is there that one guy at the FCS level that if you think would have a solid NFL future, you would pick?
Jesus. No, because a lot of the top guys aren't coming out this year.
Right.
Because a lot of the guys who were going to come out this year took a grad year. You got the Salukas, you got the Brosmers.
Yeah.
Gronowski still, if I'm not mistaken, could possibly take a grad year if he wanted. I don't know if he will. I want to say Cam Miller is coming out, but I don't think he's that. I don't think he's as good of a I don't think he's as good of a prospect as people want to say.
Yes.
And he's definitely not on Baggett's level. Oh man, if there's a D2, like I'm really interested to see what that Colorado Mines quarterback is going to look like because he's the next D2 kid coming out that kind of has that same trajectory as Baggett. He broke, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong,
some of his records.
He broke a lot of Baggett's records this year. He's like the all-time leading passer in NCAA history. He's probably going to is the D2 national title game tomorrow? Or I want to say it might be tomorrow. It's coming up at least. And I think Colorado School
tomorrow.
He's probably going to lead Colorado School of Mines to another national title with the first-year head coach. That's the guy I'm going to be interested. I think that's your next Tyson Baggett. I think the FCS will be next year potentially, and then some guys that transferred up. I think if there was a guy who was going to come out, it would have been like a Saluka because he can do it all. Like he is an elite athlete playing quarterback. He's super efficient and he can push the ball down the field. And I think he's going to go make his money in FBS next year and probably be a top guy coming out next year. But I think that's going to be the problem with FCS, man. Like a lot of the younger quarterbacks aren't staying around. Like you look at the Jerry Rice Award last year, Giovanni McCoy's in the portal from Idaho. Poffenbarger, from what I was told, tried to leave last year. If after the season he's having, if they get knocked out, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the portal after this season. With all the talent that Albany's going to lose at other key spots, I think he probably was going to stick around for 2 years and dip. Won't be surprised if he hits the portal. Who's the next young guy that's really going to take the throne? I mean, you're kind of looking around. Now, an interesting one is going to be Cole Payton. When Cam Miller leaves, Cole Payton has been, I'll say this, the North Dakota State fans have felt like Cole Payton was the best high school quarterback that they've ever had in school history. Better than Wentz, better than Lance, Gatorade State Player of the Year in Nebraska, spurned Power 5 programs, and has stuck with North Dakota State on the bench in the age of the transfer portal. He wants to be the next guy at North Dakota State, and we've seen his athleticism. The problem is we haven't seen him pass yet. That's a guy I'm looking at for possibly the future, but the problem is a lot of the talent's getting poached from the FCS right now, man. So unless someone transfers down, like you saw, like a Robbie Ashford hit the portal, that's a guy who could be ridiculously successful if he gets in the right program at the FCS level. So I'm looking for maybe a FBS guy to transfer to the FCS to be that next NFL prospect. But right now, there's really not a great option because a lot of the young guys have hit the portal right now.
Yeah, Robbie Ashford. I feel like he was going to Group of 5. He's saying he's going to go to SCS. I mean, I agree with you. I think it would be an excellent fit for him, especially with his skill set and his just sheer athletic ability. Last question that I have for you, and I want to preface this by saying this has been a phenomenal time for me. You're a wealth of knowledge, and this could impact how college football moves forward. Willie Simmons, big game tomorrow. We talked about it this whole show. He could finally get over the hump, win the Celebration Bowl. He's only 43 years old. He's had 6 years at Florida A&M, even though they didn't have a team in 2020. He's had 3 9-win seasons, and obviously an 11-win season this year. He's 44-13 as a head coach. If he wins this game, could we possibly see him elevate or get hired by a team at the next level?
It's tough because there's not a lot of openings. Like a lot of the big openings have been filled.
Right.
And that's the drawback of taking your team deep in the playoffs. Like unless you're like a Matt Ince who like a USC, like you're not the head coach there, so you can wait. Like they're cool with him coaching it out because at the end of the day, the linebacker coach isn't going to shut down the operation if he doesn't get on campus immediately, and he can still do his thing from a distance. He should. I'll say that. The thing I've been told is he's not a candidate for any of the current open positions right now. And I think next year's the year you're going to, if he makes a move, it's going to be next year. Because I think he wants to run it back. I really do. I think he can. He wants to prove that this 1 year wasn't a fluke. He loves it at FAMU as well. And really and truly, like, unless it's if I'm Willie Simmons, I'm picking my shot carefully. Because we see too many coaches, young coaches, take the wrong opportunity. They get overhyped. They just jump at the first opportunity. And I'm sorry, no disrespect to any of these schools. I'm not leaving FAMU for freaking Akron. It's not happening. I'm not leaving it for North Texas. I'm not leaving it for Tulsa. Like, I need a legit opportunity to be
UMass
somewhere. UMass is terrible. Yeah, that one too. That's a good one. There's a few other ones, UConn and some other places, but I want him to pick and choose carefully because I want to see him be successful because I think he's a heck of a coach. And I think Trey Oliver is another guy you got to keep your eye on who's building an excellent program. Next year could be the year for him. I know Willie interviewed for some spots over the last year or two, but I think he'll be the head coach at FAMU next year. And I'll say this is a very crucial time for HBCU head coaches too, because we had the whole diaspora last year where a former Jackson State coach wanted to say that he was going to set the trend and open up doors for other African-American head coaches coming from the HBCU ranks. A lot of people didn't subscribe to that and thought it was a cop-out and a way for him to justify him leaving HBCU football after he made all these promises and used religion to manipulate people and all that. That's if Willie Simmons doesn't get a job, that all goes down the drain, because if there was ever a coach who can make 43 years old, championship winning coach, has been successful in multiple spots, former Power 5 quarterback, he checks all the boxes of what a young up and coming coach would want to check. If he doesn't get an opportunity, man, I just don't know what else a head coach from the HBCU realm could do, because I think it would be great if he turned it down and wanted to build at FAM. Like, I'm cool with that. That'd be amazing to see. And he'd probably build a powerhouse. But if he does take an opportunity and wants one, if it's not given to him, man, we really have to have an uncomfortable conversation about the hiring processes and what we're looking for in head coaches, because he should be a top candidate for any job that comes open over the next 2 years.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And the number is stubbornly sticking at right around 10% at the FBS level. That number should be bothering people more than it probably does. But I know you've got to run, Zach. So can you tell people where they can find your work and follow you, sir?
Yeah, man. Find me at Zack McKinnell on social media. FCS Football Central on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation, man. Running for Athlon now as well. And man, I just appreciate y'all having me, man. This is literally one of the most fun shows that I ever get to hop on, man. So anytime y'all want me on, man, where you can find me. And we might just need to record our phone conversations from now on, man, because me and you probably drop more info on that hour phone call than we ever could have, man. So I just appreciate you guys.
Yeah, our phone calls, hopefully they are not being recorded. But,
right.
but if they are, I support whatever you support, my mighty overlords. But the most important thing is this man right here. If you want to dig into FBS football, HBCU football, a little bit of D2 even. My guy over here, there we go. My guy over here, there we go. Zack McKinnell, of the owner of the Bluebloods, contributor for Athlon and Sports Illustrated, and later we'll get into our rant about what's wrong with the FCS All-Americans that are being. Yes,
there was
right,
a guy who played 4 games today on the first team All-American. Like you deserve to get beat for that. That's ridiculous. Are we even watching the games?
It was rather upsetting for me when I saw where some of the players that I liked ended up being stuck behind players that I just knew. Once again, whole other show about what's wrong with that. If you are not following Zack McKinnell, if you're not following at the Bluebloods, fix that. Get your life right. FCS football, especially with the semi-permeable membrane because of the transfer portal, you're going to see how many of these guys are ballers because they're going to go look at Jared Verse, kids. Like, Jared Verse was not someone I discovered at Florida State. I was talking about him when he was still a Great Dane. And I was looking at Jukosh thinking, man, this guy's pretty good. He's not as athletic, but he's good too. And then as soon as he left, Jukosh went off for like 14 and a half sacks. So I was like, yep, I was right.
This is crazy, man. I mean, you even saw what Sam Franklin's going to Oklahoma, Howell's going to South Carolina, Pius going to Wisconsin, what Griffith, Louisville, Brosmer, Minnesota. I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. But I do want to say before I get out here, man, it was great to meet Donovan, man. We'll definitely have to catch up, man. I definitely follow the work over there at all the college wires too, man. So y'all doing a heck of a job over there.
Excellent.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you once again. That is Zack McKinnell, and they don't get any better. Okay, now Donovan. It is now Donovan. It's just totally about you, sir. We're going to focus entirely our focus, our attention, our love, and affection towards you. Once again, the transfer portal, and focusing this time on the schools that used to be in the Pac-12. I don't know how to say this. So weird. It feels so weird to say this, but are now the diaspora. There's the big Mountain 2, whatever the hell they call themselves. And then there's the ones that are in the Big 10, the ones that are in the Big 12. But how is the transfer portal treating what once was the Pac-12, Donovan?
Once was the best.
It's just so I just feel bad at this point, but let's just talk about it.
Yeah, I mean it's treating them pretty well so far. I mean it's early. A lot of guys are just taking visits, man. A lot of guys haven't really actually transferred yet. To me, it hasn't been a lot yet because there's still so many names out there. So we got a long way to go in the process. Like it kind of just started. I think the dominoes will kind of start falling. Like I said, they've already fell, but once that first signing day starts with you're talking about most of your top 250 guys, like your 4 and 5 stars. Because anything after 250 is kind of your high 3, mid 3, 2 stars, low 3s, 1 star, whatever guys. That's kind of geared toward more the second signing day. Obviously, you'll still have some 4 and 5 stars commit on the second signing day. You'll have some commit during the All-American games. Whether it's the Under Armour or just the Army All-American or whatever game. So we'll see. But, I mean, it's treated them pretty well so far, I think. I mean, I think it's hurt some of the teams. Like Oregon, I mean, they've got Dylan Gabriel, which is good. But, I mean, I think they lost a few guys. I mean, I liked Ty Thompson. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel is better than Ty Thompson right now. But you're only going to get Dylan for 1 year. Ty was that's the kind of the trade-off, I think. I mean, it's early. Like you can't go back and say, well, this has happened in the history of the portal because it's changed so much. I mean, even the history of the portal from what it was like 6 or 7 years ago is not the same as it is today. So I mean, because with COVID, like that changed the portal. Like pre-COVID, like that portal was different from what this portal is now. Like I just don't like when people compare like that portal to this portal because it's not the same at all. Especially as a recruiting guy, because like I'm a portal guy now. Like I'm barely a recruiting guy, really. Like I mean I am still, but it's like I have to keep with the portal just as much because I can't follow recruiting and be as good as I am at recruiting if I don't follow the transfer portal. It used to not really kind of be like that. I think a guy, like I said, I use Ty Thompson as an example because he's a younger guy. He's a 4-star guy. He's good. But, I mean, obviously you're going to sacrifice a Big 12 All-American Heisman candidate for what could be. I think that's kind of like where we're going now. For certain teams, not every team's like that, but for teams like Oregon, obviously that are in the national championship race every year in the formerly Pac-12, now Big Ten conference championship. So I think teams like that, it's kind of hurt a little bit for the long run. Maybe it's helped them out for as of right now today. But teams like Oregon State, like you said, they're moving obviously out west. That has helped them, I feel like, a little bit more. And I know it doesn't seem like it because they've lost so many guys. That situation, Oregon State's a bad example because they lost their coach, Jonathan Smith. So they have like everyone transferring. So that might not be the best example in the world. But I just use them because they're a team moving to a different. I mean, they're all moving to a different conference. But I mean, your team like a Cal, like a mid-level team that's 6-6 or whatever, like it doesn't really affect them too much, really. I feel like. So it's kind of in the. I mean, like USC, like. They have just started really hitting the portal now. They're getting guys to flip more so. They're kind of looking at it, I think, from an aspect of trying to just get everything. Like, they want it all, which is good. I mean, if you're a USC fan like me or Brock or whoever, like, we're the fans that we talk to every day, you want a little bit of everything. You don't want to just get all transfers. You want to get some high school kids and build still, because I still think the foundation of a team, for the most part, to me, is building through high school football recruiting, those relationships with the coaches, and what your staff is doing. You can't just get everyone through the transfer portal. It doesn't work like that for everybody. There's teams that it's going to work like that for, but for the foundation of your team, I know the Heisman winners renamed and all these All-Americans transferred. I get it. But like the foundation of the team, most of the guys on the team are going to be guys that are just commits. So I think the portal is, a lot of people have entered the portal, but they're waiting a little bit longer now, is all I'm trying to say. So we haven't seen as many guys like, oh, I'm transferring to this school right away. Like, no, we can wait like a little bit. Like, it's not much. I know microwave society, everybody wants to just like, where's this guy transferring? Where's he going? Where's he going? Let him take a visit first. Let him meet with some coaches. There's coaching changes too going around, so we don't know who's coaching, positions, coaches like that. There's not as many assistant coaches and position coaches that have changed jobs. It's kind of, for the most part, I mean, I know some have changed, but hasn't been super duper crazy like the years before. So, and like I think someone mentioned earlier, a lot of these coaching spots have been filled, like the big ones. So they're bouncing on that early, which is good. I think that's helped out too. But I mean, yeah, I think some of those, like I said, Oregon, I mentioned USC, and obviously there's schools like Arizona that have that are going to benefit, I think, from the portal too. But it's not happening right now as of like today as I'm speaking, but it will happen for them. Just had to wait for that first, I think, initial signing day to come up, and then after that, things will start falling in place a little bit more.
Okay. Brock, do you have a last question or two for the one, the only Donovan James?
Yeah, since we're limited on time, I want to put Donovan through kind of a speed fire round when it comes to the former members of the Pac-12. I'm going to make a statement or prediction for the 2024 season, and I would just like to get your thoughts on it in 1 to 2 sentences. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm scared because I know how I don't know about it. Brock rapid fire question is tough, man. You're gonna maybe answer some crazy stuff, but no, I'll do my best always.
All right, let's do it. So once again, we're talking about the former teams of the Pac-12 conference champions, conference that a lot of us will miss so much. Let's begin with the proud people of the Palouse, Washington State. Jake Dicker still having a job is absolutely unacceptable, and he should have been fired in 2023. However, due to the fact he does get another opportunity, will Dicker change and turn around his fortunes at Washington State in 2024?
Yes. I think he will. I think he'll turn around his fortunes. I think he'll remain the football coach the year after in 2025. So I guess that would be changing fortunes. So yes.
Wow, that's a shocking answer. But moving on, Washington currently quarterback situation in 2024 is very clouded. Of course, they're losing Michael Penix Jr. to the draft. Dylan Morris, their backup, has entered the transfer portal. If you could select one quarterback in the portal right now that has yet to commit, who would you select for Washington?
Oh boy, that's tough. Man, you put me on the spot. What's the kid's name from Arizona? Jaden.
Jaden Delora.
Yeah.
Delora.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just the first one that came to mind. This rabbit fire. Yeah.
That is a fair one. My pick is Malik Murphy out of Texas. I think it could be poetic justice considering Texas plays. Sure. Washington has a great skill set, but that's just me. Moving on, Cal Golden Bears, for some unknown reason, was able to become bowl eligible this year as they play Texas Tech in the Independence Bowl. Jaden Ott, fantastic running back, returns. Fernando Mendoza, fantastic quarterback, returns. They will not be bowl eligible next year in their first year in the ACC. What are your thoughts?
They won't be?
Yeah, they won't be.
That's what he's asking. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
question.
I know. I say they won't be. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Can I peek at their schedule real fast? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like I have no idea who they play. Because there's so many teams in the ACC too. I'm glad there's not a number behind the ACC though. They can just keep the same name. Oh boy, no, man. I mean, at Florida State, at SMU, at Pitt, San Diego State, they might lose to Stanford, Syracuse. No, I don't. Well, their schedule's not. They're not gonna. I don't think so. They play at Auburn, at Florida State, Stanford. No, I'll say like 5 and 7.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, you might as well look up the Stanford schedule as well because I say that Stanford will not win more than 3 games in 2024.
Ouch.
Stanford, oh, yeah, their schedule's like harder.
And they have a worse roster. Also, and Ben
And they have a worse
Eurosic.
roster.
Yeah, also, star tight end Ben Eurosic has entered the transfer portal.
Yeah. Better learn to speak Wisconsinese, buddy.
I like what Stanford's doing, man, but I mean, I don't know how long they're gonna give. They're probably like a 4-8 team next year.
Gotcha. In my opinion, Dylan Gabriel. Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, I was gonna say I just don't see from what I'm looking at right now, and they're not gonna get guys through the portal. Like, so Stanford's not getting. They don't like get anyone through the portal really. Like, no, I mean, they did get a couple guys, but they're not gonna be killing it through the portal. The kids aren't going to Stanford. Like through the portal,
and the academics also make
but they can't. Like some of them can't. Yeah, so I mean, they're still gonna kind of do it the old school way with recruiting and stuff. But their recruiting class is good, but it's not good enough to overcome that. So yeah, I agree with you.
So they will not win more than 3 games in 2024. Do you agree?
More than 3? Yeah, I would. Cal Poly, San Jose State, and they'll sneak another game in. So yeah, I'll go 3.
Yeah, I'm not even sure they beat San Jose State, but that's not.
It's on the road. You might be right.
That's what I'm saying. Brett Brennan, the guy I had slated for the Stanford job, I think is going to pull off the upset against Troy Taylor's men. Going up north to Oregon, of course, talk about Dylan Gabriel becoming the new quarterback of the Ducks. This is not a needle mover for me. In fact, I think it's actually a regression from Bo Nix. I think that they're going to be prolific on offense, but they are going to go against a Big Ten. The defenses of the Big Ten. Oregon will be successful, but they will not reach double-digit wins in the regular season. They might get it with a bowl game, but I don't think they win more than 9 games in the regular season. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dylan is as good as Bo Nix, but I mean, especially at like passing, he's running wise, I mean, he's good. He's intense. I'm surprised you're not a Dylan Gabriel fan. I thought you would like it, guy. He's from Hawaii. I thought you liked him, but no.
Ohana.
I'm a big fan of him. He's impressed me because maybe I wasn't thinking too highly of him coming in when he transferred from UCF. I thought he was solid, but he kind of impressed me a lot during the Texas game. And I mean, obviously that was his big moment. And I thought he got better as a passer through the season. And I like him. He's intense. He's a good player. I wish he had stayed at Oklahoma, but I get why he goes to Oregon. You know what I mean? But as far as them winning those games, looking at their schedule, yeah, I mean, I think they. I think they go like 9-3, 10-2 next year.
That's fair. So
yeah. I mean, they play Ohio State at home and Michigan, and then they play at Autzen at home for Senior Day versus Washington. They do play at Wisconsin too, but so yeah, I think they'll go like 9-3.
Okay, so they will not hit double digits in the regular season.
No, I don't think they'll hit double digits. I'll rock with you on that one.
All right, I would like to add that I like Dylan Gabriel. I think he's a fantastic talent. And it was weird. He was a left-handed version of his dad against Texas, the way his dad, Garrett Gilbert, absolutely torched BYU in 89 and 90. But I think fit is the big thing. I don't see the fit there at Oregon. Moving on to Oregon State, with this new reconfiguration of the conferences, Oregon State will benefit, and because of the fact that they play the Mountain West, they're keeping majority of their coaching staff together, and they just brought in Hankerson for Colorado to play running back. Oregon State will be in the college football playoff in 2024.
Oh,
no, man, they lost too much to me. Too much. Like, they lost both safeties. You're losing Aiden to Michigan State. I mean, they're going over there with Jonathan Smith. I mean, yeah, I get it with their schedule. Like, I'm looking at it. They should be favored in every game.
I understand Corvallis, especially in winter.
But it's just not enough. Like, they'll be favored every game besides Oregon. But I think they're gonna lose. I think they can go 10-2 for sure. 9-3, and that's good for Oregon State still. But I don't think. I mean, there's always these like on paper it looks good, but it's tough because it's like, do they beat UNLV at home? I don't know. You know, I mean, do they beat Boise State? I don't know. On the road, you know what I mean, on Smirkfield. You know, do they go to Colorado State and win that game? I'm not sure. Colorado State's improved. Oregon, San Diego State, you know, that's a new team. Purdue, always tough to play. I know it's Purdue. People kind of make fun of them all the time, but I mean, it's still a tough team to play. So, and Washington State, you know, Cal, you know, familiar with them. So, I don't know. I mean, I would say they would have a good chance to go 10-2, 9-3, even 11-1.
That's fair.
But to run the table is going to be tough. But they can do it for sure. I mean, that's a bold. You said they're making the playoffs?
I think they're making the playoffs. I think.
Oh, it's 12 next year. I was like, it's only 4 teams, dude. There's no way. Yeah, there's 12. Yeah, there's no way. Not with this schedule, dog. They didn't put with 12 teams, they might. Yeah, they could.
I think they'll make some late pickups in the underrated pickups in the portal and become a strengthable team. Keep in mind that when it comes to the Civil War, Oregon State has beaten Oregon in 3 of the last 4 games played in Corvallis. They play in Corvallis in 2024, and
it's early this year. It's the third game of the season.
At its early, so we'll just have to see. Going down more south to kind of your comfortable range, UCLA will suffer a massive regression and will struggle to be bowl eligible in 2024.
That one's tough, man. That's probably the toughest one you asked me because, when I'm looking, they're just such a question mark team. I think they have like the biggest question mark of all the former Pac-12 teams. Their schedule's brutal, man. It's not easy at all. Who comes back to play at quarterback and who's some of the guys that come back at wide receiver. They have a lot of guys that are like seniors that can come back possibly, your Kyle Fords and guys like that, but who can come back and who's going to come back and play for Chip and what will he do in the offseason with his staff, like we're talking about Kindle Jr. or whatever. I think they can make a bowl game pretty comfortably, but they will drop off. What were they, 7-5 this year or 8-4?
I believe they were 8-4.
8-4 because they won the USC game. Yeah, they – at Washington, at Penn State, at really at LSU, like not neutral site. That's in Tiger Stadium. Oregon
loss.
Even Minnesota, maybe. I mean,
wait, are they at Minnesota?
No, they're at home.
Okay, they win.
USC at home, like
loss.
Fresno State at the end of the year. See, that's senior day.
Oh, I don't know because last day they played Fresno State won and the Rose Bowl.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm like kind of, and they play at Lincoln.
Loss.
Always tough. Oh, Iowa home though.
Loss.
Should outscore those guys.
No, Iowa's defense is too good.
So yeah, I mean that's a lot of L's, man.
A lot of L's. That's
and
what
I'm
saying.
not agreeing with you on all of them, but I think they go like 7-5 at best. But I can see them going 5-7.
Keep in mind they're gonna lose Latu, potentially lose Gabriel Murphy. They're gonna lose Logan.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
They got a potentially good class coming in, possibly, but there's a lot of recruits that they're one of those teams that offer everybody, and they're always on everybody's list, but they don't get them. If that makes sense.
No,
like everybody,
exactly.
A kid will put out a top 12 and always have UCLA, but he never goes there. Like UCLA fans are always saying, like, "Oh, he's on the list."
Hey,
I'm like,
look,
we're
on the list. Yeah,
well,
Jalen Rashida has us on the list.
It doesn't mean anything, and I'm not trying to take like a knock at UCLA, really, but that's just like a real thing. Like, and Chip said he doesn't really. He always makes it seem like he doesn't really care about recruiting. But he also says, I don't care about the portal. It's like, well, you need to care about one of them, dude. Like, where are you going to get the players? You know what I mean? Like,
the problem is, in my opinion, before we move on, Chip Kelly has basically ruined his reputation. He got a 5-star quarterback, Dante Moore, and less than a year later, he's gone. He was able to bring in a transfer to Jim Mickelstad from Cal, who didn't perform at the standard.
I like him. Yeah,
I like him too. But was he productive?
I liked Kyle Ford too, and he wasn't productive. I
either.
can't believe. He caught less passes at UCLA than USC. There's no way that should happen.
There's no way that should happen.
He transferred there for more production, and his production dropped, and he was a former.
Carson Steele didn't look too great either.
Right.
I like Carson. See, yeah, he's got guys, man, but I know
he doesn't utilize them.
I told you guys though, man, and I wasn't trying to make it between like two different guys, but there was just guys. I mean, I talked to guys that are around. I knew that he loved Dante and the fit made sense, but there was people telling me that, man, he loves Ethan a lot, dude. Like that's his guy. Like there's something about him. He likes him, dude. That's his guy. And you know how he is with his guys, dude. Like Ethan's nowhere near as talented as Dante. We know that. But there's for some reason that's his guy, dude. I don't know why. And I'm not saying Ethan's not a scrub. I mean, Ethan was a top quarterback in high school too. But
just can't throw the ball over 25 yards.
He can't. He's tough as hell though, man. I've noticed. I always call him a pretty boy. He is tough.
Hey, at University of Hawaii, Sean Schroeder was a tough guy. Loved him to death. Could not throw the ball over 30 yards. Hey, it's just physical limitations.
Yeah, he has limitations. Ethan doesn't. He never will be able to throw the ball over.
Nope.
It's not like he's gonna get better at that.
Exactly. And if you're not able to vertically spread those Big Ten defenses, you're gonna keep catching L's all day long or throwing dots to the ops. Moving on to USC. They will not compete for a Big Ten title. They will not beat some of the teams that we expect them to compete with. However, they will be able to put in a 10-win season and potentially sneak into the college football playoff. What are your thoughts?
I'm like right in the middle between agreeing with you and not. I think that I lean towards, they will probably win 10 games. They'll lose a couple games in there. I mean, obviously, I'll be out in Vegas. By the way, I'll be out in Vegas in September.
Oh, yeah, let me know.
For LSU. So I'll be out there. And that's my birthday. My birthday's on the 7th, so the week before. So we can do something for sure.
Most definitely.
But yeah, I mean that game at Michigan and Arbor, it's early though, and a lot of people are talking about, it's gonna be cold. I mean, it's September 21st, so
it will not be cold.
And then the Penn State game's at home. Then the Husky game, on the road would be tough, and then Nebraska, UCLA, Notre Dame in the season. Yeah, I mean they're gonna have 2 losses for sure. But yeah, I think they can sneak in. It depends when those losses are and who they are too. If they're to LSU and Michigan early and they win out, which I think that's actually what will happen. I think they'll lose LSU and Michigan and then win out.
And you know what? I think they lose.
They might lose to Washington too, though.
I think they might lose to Washington, but I have them beating LSU at the moment. I think LSU's gonna lose a lot of guys. James Daniels, Malik Neighbors, they ain't coming back.
They always lose guys though. Like it's LSU. Right?
Yeah, it's also Chip Kelly, who's notorious for not being able to beat
Brian
USC.
Kelly.
Oh, Brian Kelly, whatever. Brian Kelly, who's notorious
Chip
for
can
not
beat
being
USC.
Chip can beat USC.
I'll give him that.
Unless they're in South Bend, Chip Kelly can't beat USC, and I'm sticking to that narrative until the day I die. So moving on.
We're gonna get compressed passes for you, dog, for that game. If you want to rock with me on that.
Oh
game.
yeah, I want to rock with you.
Yeah.
Everybody else in the league has been denying me press passes. Jesus.
Oh, I got you, man. They can't. They're not. Well, I'll say they can. They definitely can deny me, but they won't.
I just want to go. Also, I know 2 rich lawyers that are going to be there, so it's going to be nice to say hi to them. All right, one's a USC graduate. Her husband's an LSU graduate. Shout out to those 2. Shout out to Gina and Mike. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a good time at the game. Moving on to Arizona.
Moving on.
The 4 teams that are going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Arizona is going to be the team that has the most success early, and I see Arizona also winning the Big 12 and being in the college football playoff. What do you think of that prediction?
Man, I almost, I'm not gonna lie, I almost forgot they're going to the Big 12 because I was thinking they're going to the one of the other conferences, but they're all just switching so many. Because Cal and Stanford, the ACC, and then so much. It's hard to keep up with. By the way, that's a great. Can't wait to watch Arizona hoops play in the Big 12. That's gonna be really cool. But yeah, super fantastic, man. If you guys watch hoops, of course. But you think they're gonna win the Big 12?
Yeah,
that's what he said.
What do you think, Bill?
He's a bold young. I do not.
I know he likes Arizona a lot, though.
I think they end up tied for second.
What? To who?
People just forget that Kansas State wins games that people think they have no business winning.
That's
every year, Kansas State wins 2 games that nobody thinks they'll win.
I mean, next year, I mean, you got to pick Utah to win. Cameron Rising's coming back, and they're loaded, dude.
Right? Utah's
loaded.
that game receiver, that's a killer. That's going to be a stud next year.
That game's at Rice Eccles, and that's their senior day. That's the last game of the season. I mean, that's going to be a crazy environment because I think Utah. You know what's funny about the Big 12? I think number 1 team's Utah, number 2 is Arizona, and I think those are the 1 and 2. Kansas State's always going to be in the mix, like he said. You can never count those guys out. Even Rock Jayhawk, they'll be in there. But I like BYU, but I want to see what they do with they got a lot of positions at the skill positions they need to fill. So because they're really good up front, they bring a lot back in the trenches. It's not the sexy players or anything, but they can find like a quarterback and just somewhat of a consistent running game. They'll be in the mix. But yeah, I'll go Utah with that pick for the Big 10, the Big 12, excuse me. Colorado's going to be interesting too. So.
Yeah, well, that transitions us to our next one. Colorado, they will take a massive step up in 2024, but they will not reach championship level play. However, my win total for them right now is at 8. Do you agree that they will hit 8 or over, or do you think they will be under 8 wins?
8. Yeah, I'm good at 8. And no more. That 8's a max because their schedule is tough too.
Yeah.
But but that's a team though. You're asking me on December 15th. You asked me this January 15th with the portal and what they're about to do. That might be that's going to be a totally different team, dude. Yep. What Dion and all those guys are doing. Yep. And I talked to some of those guys. I mean, Clint Brewster's one of my boys. I know his dad just left the staff, Tim, but they're friends still. You know, he has no hard feelings with Dion. I mean, he kind of hates how everything went down with Sean Lewis and everything. But Clint is just saying, hey, man, that's the team to look out for. And we all know this. Like, what they've done already with the portal, getting guys in and out, and there's just so much change. And I hate they lost Antoine Hill at quarterback because I thought he was going to be the guy that replaced Shador. But I think they'll still find some guys in the future. But, yeah, I'll go 8 wins. We get 8 wins for them.
That's fair. Arizona
Donovan,
State.
where did Antoine Hill land?
He didn't land anywhere yet. He's got
few.
I think he's gonna go to Oregon though, because I think Ty Thompson transferring opens it up because what he can do is kind of just obviously Dylan's gonna play for 1 year. Antoine comes in, starts. You know what I mean? But that's what I think. Texas can be a big deal for him too. He likes Texas a lot, but he's gonna have to wait behind Arch, obviously, but because he's 2025, he's not 2024. So he's got another year of high school. Yeah, if he was talking about reclassifying, but he's not. He doesn't really have the academics to reclassify. So you can't just reclassify if you want to. You got to graduate high school. But like,
yes, it's one of the rules.
Yeah. I think Oregon, Texas, and look out for Georgia for Antoine Hill because of Dylan Raiola. The dominoes are about to fall. I'm telling you, if he flips to Nebraska, it's going to open up a spot. Carson Beck's coming back. They just lost Vandergrift to the portal. He's going to Kentucky. Right. Antoine Hill's from Georgia. He went to the same high school as Jake Fromm. So Warner Robins, Georgia. And I cover this kid a lot. He's the truth. Dude, people were like, can he beat Jake Fromm's records? I was like, no, but he's way better than Jake Fromm, dude. like talent-wise. Like, yeah, he's not going to beat Jake's records because, like, Jake started 4 years in high school. But Hill is just, he's a monster, man. He reminds me of Cam, man. And I know, like, Cam's his quarterback coach, and he's got some Cam in him. He's not as athletic as Cam, but he's got some Cam in him. So I don't really know if he would translate with Georgia's offense per se, but, like, if you can build him up passing the ball with that athletic ability at 6'5", 220, dude, sky's the limit, like, to have a guy like that. Because Kirby's never had a dude like that. I mean, I love Stetson and Carson Beck and all these dudes and Jake Fromm, but, like...
She had Justin Fields, but we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, he did have Justin Fields. True. Yeah, but his fraternity brother is Jake Fromm's dad, so you know how that went down.
We all know how that one played out.
They used to live together in college,
Yeah, exactly. Old boy friendships that hard. Although I do have unconfirmed reports that Raiola will make the flip from Georgia to Nebraska. There's too much information pointing in that direction.
I hate that.
There's 3 things that are going down that I think have proved that. 1, Nebraska moved on from Kyle McCord. 2, obviously his dad being a Nebraska legend. Right. And then the third part is that the coaching staff at Raiola's high school and the coaching staff at Georgia essentially all hate each other. So I think that,
and his uncle's on staff with Nebraska too.
Yeah, so I think Raiola's on his way.
Yeah, I think he is too. But it's the crazy part about that, man. I don't want to like talk too much about that because I know y'all doing rapid fire. But just for me, like obviously covering high school, I was just at the state championships for recruiting, just talking all these inner circles. Is like you're probably right, he is. But the crazy part is he transferred to Buford High School and got an apartment here. Like he lives by himself already, and he's in high school to be at Georgia. Like so, he moved his whole life. Like I just get scared now doing recruiting since I'm an older guy. I feel like in recruiting, not like, and I've talked to Bill about this. third different high schools, committed to 3 different schools. Like it's like, dude, those guys usually don't work out. I'm not saying he's not talented because he's the best quarterback in the class to me, like by far. Because I don't like this quarterback class at all for high school. He's the only 5-star I have at quarterback in this class. But that kind of scares me, like a little bit. Like what are you running from, dude? Like, why are you committing to? I mean, I get the high school thing, but it's like, you've transferred. You've been to 3 different high schools. You moved to Buford from Arizona by yourself, like to go to high school here, and transferred and go to Georgia right down the road. And now you're gonna go to Nebraska. I get it. Like it's a move that he wants to do, and he wants to start day one. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's just interesting. We'll see.
Hey, I'm just saying, at least from my perspective as a Hawaii kid, I watched Sojay Maiava win a state championship at Kahuku in his freshman year, and then his entire family moved to Maryland, and then he ended up at BYU, and now he's back in the portal. So I really don't think those moves matter anymore in terms of figuring out where guys are gonna go. It really just doesn't. Especially with NIL now, they have the money to move wherever they want. It's not that big of a deal.
I get that.
Yeah, so moving on, Arizona State made an interesting hire by hiring former UNLV head coach and team obliterator Marcus Arroyo to be their offense coordinator. I think that this move is absolutely horrific. I think that this is going to put Arizona State back. I think Arizona State will fail to be bowl eligible again, leading to Jaden Rashada entering the transfer portal. What do you think?
Dang, you don't like Arroyo at all, it sounds like. I think they can go like 6-6 if Rashada stays healthy. It's a feisty team, man. That's always a team that you got to look out for. They're dangerous. They got a lot of big home games. I mean, they play at home for like 2 months straight, and the only road game they have is Arizona, and it's in Tucson. So like, they got a good stretch right there. But I think they can go 6-6 at best. I mean, Oklahoma State's still going to be a pretty solid team too, and Texas Tech. That's going to be so much fun watching the Big 12. That's already fun, but adding those teams, they're gonna be scoring so many damn points. I can't wait. Can't wait to see that. I'm gonna start my when they make NCAA, I'm gonna join the Big 12 just so I can score 50, 60 every game.
No, hey, you have Xbox, bro?
Yeah, I got Xbox.
Bro, we gotta play when the game comes out. It's gonna be so fun.
Well, you might get Bill on NCAA trying to build his. He might build up. I don't even know what. Like some HBCU school, build them up.
For sure.
I don't know who Bill would pick. Like, who would you pick if you had to start a team to build up?
Norfolk State.
Yeah, is that where you went? Right.
I might have to try to build the once proud Spartan Legion. Do you have a final question for Donovan James? Because we are now approaching the much discussed and warned against 2-hour mark. So let's.
I do. Fortunately. Wait, hold on, real quick. Arizona State, USC, UCLA, Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, Stanford, Arizona State, and then we covered Colorado. Am I missing? There's no way I'm missing.
I talked about Utah a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So last one, Utah. Okay. Yeah. We're good. All right. Utah will be just as successful as Arizona as those two teams will be the ones meeting in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think you had Arizona when I had Utah. I think Utah is going to be a top 5 team next year in the country, top 6. Though, like they, I don't see them losing a game. Like they probably will lose one, but they should be favored every ball game they're playing.
That's fair.
It might be a tricky one to play. I think the UCF game is like a Thursday night game in Orlando. Like that traveling is just rough, man. Because they play. There's a stretch. Like it's TV. They don't have the like full like where they play yet, but like it looks like they might be playing a projected schedule like at Colorado, at Houston, at Oklahoma State, short week at UCF. Like it's a lot of traveling, man, and it's a short week to do all that. Travel to Oklahoma State, back to Utah, back to Orlando on a short week. That's tough, but we'll see what happens. I think they'll go 11-1 or go run the table 12-0.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you participating in that somewhat quick-fire question there. Bill, I'll kick it off to you to end this very long but very fantastic show.
It was really I'm very proud of the work we did here today. Donovan, before you go, sir, please tell everyone where they can find your work and follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports. The name remains the same. I appreciate y'all every time you have me on the show. Been a blessing, been an honor. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
We feel very lucky, and shout out once again to Zack McKinnell. I told you that he's as good as it gets, and I don't think I oversold it at all. If you care at all about FCS football, even a little bit, if you're not following Zack McKinnell, what are you doing? Fix it. So he's Zack McKinnell, and you can also go to @the Bluebloods, and there's FCS Central is the thing they do for SI as well and Athlon, but he's as good as it gets. And we bonded at the HBCU Legacy Bowl a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Who's this big white kid?" And we started talking. It's like, "Oh, that's who he is." Oh, okay, all right. And at the time, I mean, I don't want to like blow it up too much, but what he was doing at the same time that he was doing what he was doing blew my mind. He's now out of school, but he was doing something. He was balancing like 3 super difficult things at the same time and doing everything so well. I wish I were half the man that Zack McKinnell is. Amazing individual. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for your time, your talent, your attention. We will do this again. We'll talk about, we'll be in bowl season next time. We'll be looking back at the Legacy Bowl, looking back at the FCS championships, the Division II championships. We're looking back at the semifinals, and then we'll talk about the FCS championship. And then we'll talk about bowl season. And by that time, the transfer portal will have done some more portaling. And
a lot more.
We may bring Donovan back, depending upon his availability. Once again, everybody, this is what I love. And I thank you so much for taking this journey with me. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And we are OUT and